recruiting and selecting right candidates for your organization meets the strategic objectives of the organization. So, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss on one more important function of HRM, that is one of the key functions of HRM and comes under the procurement function, that is called recruitment and selection. I hope that during last few classes you have come to know about the job analysis, the human resource planning, and once you have done your human resource planning correctly, rather accurately, then the next step in the process is the recruitment process. There is a very important quote. The quote goes as, a company is only good, a company is only as good as the employee it keeps. Therefore, recruiting and selecting right candidates for your organization meets the strategic objectives of the organization. It is often said that recruiting a bad person or inappropriate recruitment leads to that adversity which is even not that good as recruiting not at all. Understand? Therefore, it is important that in order to meet the organizational objectives, in order to have the strategic advantages of the organization, it is of pivotal importance that we must lay more emphasis on recruitment and selection process of the organization. Here in this class, there are various areas of the recruitment, and further we will be discussing on the selection in your next class. So today we will be discussing on the recruitment. You know, there are four important functions are primarily discharged when a person is recruited. You are acquiring human resources, you are utilizing human resources, you are also developing human resources, and it is of utmost necessity that you must also retain the human resources for your organization. Therefore, it is important that we must know the entire recruitment process, the objectives that it meets, the features, the various sources of the recruitment, and the advantages and disadvantages of each of these sources in today's class. Right? So here is a PowerPoint presentation for you. The first slide talks about the definition of the recruitment. You know, recruitment is a process. Recruitment is a process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for jobs in organization. Your objective must be to reach out to the whole, lot of prospective candidates residing even at the farthest distance, at remote corners of a country or the globe, and then reach out to these potential candidates so that they can apply for the jobs for your organization. Our objective is ultimately to recruit the most efficient person for our organization. This definition has been provided by FLIFO. It correctly says that recruitment is the process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for jobs in your organization. Your job description, your advertisement, your web posting must provide necessary stimulus, necessary encouragement in the mind of the people so that all people are motivated and they apply for jobs in your organization. Once you have the vast pool of human resources, you can make an effective choice for your organization through the selection process. The next slide talks about the recruitment features. These are rather the characteristics of the recruitment. Here you can see that it involves a series of activities, right from job posting till the applications are received. It undergoes a whole lot of process. So it is a series of activities that takes place through this recruitment process. It brings both employment provider and the job seekers together. Right? Through this process, we find that both come close, job provider and the job seeker. The recruitment process would be rather nullified if one of these entities are not present in the process. Then the next is, it is a two-way process. Two-way process means both have to respond, both have to involve themselves in the process. If we do not have the intention to apply for the jobs in the organization for which the recruitment process is done, then the process cannot be accomplished. We can see here the next characteristics. Here we can see that it is a positive function. If we take into account both recruitment and selection, we can say that recruitment is a positive function. Why recruitment is called a positive function? Because recruitment reaches out to the large number of applicants who can apply for jobs in the organization. It intends to create a vast source of talent pool. From that talent pool, the required candidates to be selected. In the selection process, since elimination takes place, that's why selection is called a negative function. Then comes, it is a pervasive function because it encompasses every part of the organization, every department, every section. It's not a single person's activity. Okay? Then comes meeting the job requirements of the populace. Recruitment is a very important function, especially in a country like India, when we have a vast population, to provide them with the required job description, meeting the job requirements of the people. That characteristics is imbibed in the recruitment. Next is, it can locate the sources of recruitment. You will have to identify various sources from which the human resources can be procured. The human resources could be recruited, and then it is very complex in nature because there are so many things that has to be taken into account while the recruitment process is done. The policies, the legislation, the reservations, the economy, the size, nature of the company, the type of the job, the technological changes or technology involved, all these factors are to be taken into account while recruitment is done. That's why it is also complex in nature. Next slide, please. Here you can see the recruitment process. This process has 6 different steps, and these steps are followed in succession. That means from one step to the next one, and to the final one. So how the recruitment process takes place? You can see here that HR department receives requisitions, the requirement from different departments as to how many human resources are required, grade wise, skill wise, okay, gender wise, etc. And then they assimilate this information, they sum up, and then finally they are in a position to estimate the human resource requirement for an organization. Then the next task is to locate and develop the sources. Where from you can recruit? What are the probable sources? To whom you can reach out? How you can reach out to these people, to these prospective candidates? And if needed, you need to develop certain sources. It is very important that you are also required to develop sources of recruitment. You must have the know-how. Then next is identify prospective human resources, those actually who matches with the job description for your organization. Then you need to communicate information. The communication media can be different. You can make a job posting on the website. You can also go for press advertisements. You can also go for, publishing in, posting it in internet mediums, social networking sites, like that. There are various ways that you can communicate this information. The communication is of great importance because the candidates must come to know what the organization is and what job description is offered for them, and also the job specifications, the qualifications and experiences necessary to do that job. The next part is encourage application. You must provide necessary stimulus, encouragement, so that your organization seems lucrative to the people. And then evaluating effectiveness after the recruitment is done. I mean, the process you have initiated. Now there is a stage that you need to evaluate as to what extent your recruitment has been effective, the process has been effective for your organization. So there are 6 successive steps that you can find here: receiving requisitions, locating and developing sources, identifying prospective human resources, communicating information, encouraging applications, and evaluating the effectiveness of the entire recruitment process. Right? Is it clear? The next one is every organization must have a recruitment policy. And this policy broadly must fulfill these objectives, like the objectives of the recruitment. The organization must have certain objectives. Your recruitment policy must be tailor-made in order to meet the objectives of the recruitment objectives of the organization. It also must provide a necessary framework as how it is to be done. Then you need to accommodate reservations as applicable. There are various, reservations applicable in our country. Reservations for SCs, STs, OBCs, okay, reservation for land outseas, reservation for dependents, the person who have died while in the course of employment. So all those things must be taken into account, must be considered. Then employ best qualified person for your organization. Your policy must be to employ the best possible candidate for your organization. Your recruitment policy must be made in a way so that the individual objective is also met while meeting organizational objectives. In order to do so, there must be a career progression opportunity, rather career progression opportunities, career growth must be available to the candidates while they serve in the organization. It also must foster personal growth through different training and developmental programs. And last but not the least, your thrust area must be to retain the prospective employees in the organization in the long run. So employee retention is also a very, very important policy of the recruitment. Clear? Is it understood? The next, there are various sources of recruitment you can find, and the sources are broadly classified into two different sources. One is the internal source and another one is the external source. So in the internal source, there can be the transfers and promotions from within the organization, right? So a person is transferred from one department to the another department, from one shop to the another shop, or a person is promoted to the next higher position to take up higher responsibilities for certain positions. That way, the internal sources of recruitment can be done. It is done in the organization. There are various advantages of this internal sources, like it's an easy process. It does not need whole lot of processes which involves in the external sources, like reaching out to the prospective candidates and stimulating them and encouraging them to apply for jobs for your organization and various steps thereafter. Rather, it's a very easy process since you are recruiting from within the organization itself. The next is, it is very economical. The cost involvement is very less. The third one is, it brings motivation in the employee, that they clearly see a very career progression, a possible career path, career opportunities available for them in the organization. So it brings about motivation in the employee. It also creates the future managers in the organization. A person can foresee that one day or someday the person would be the manager in the organization. Such career opportunities are available there in the organization. And also the staffing schedule, the necessary number of the human resources are available for your job, for the job of the organization. That staffing schedule is maintained rather easily in the internal sources. However, there are certain disadvantages also. The disadvantages of the internal sources. You can see there are several disadvantages. Few such disadvantages can be as lack of fresh talent, limited choice available because you need to recruit from your organization itself, lack of competition, right? That there is a next step available for me, next possible hierarchy is available for me. So it does not promote or foster the competitive spirit in the organization, lack of enthusiasm at the same time, low productivity. Person becomes lethargic, that they know that once they gain the seniority, they would be automatically elevated to the next position, they would achieve the next grade. Therefore, low productivity. Sometimes there could be the favoritism, right? The choosing of or elevating a rather not so efficient person in comparison to efficient counterpart can be seen in the organization, while in the internal sources, and not applicable to newly established enterprise, because in newly established enterprise there is a very minimal scope of transfer and promotion, since the organization is new. Therefore, these are the disadvantages of the internal sources. Now we shall look into the external sources of recruitment. So these are the external sources of recruitment. There could be the direct recruitment. Direct recruitment means you can go for, recruiting directly to the people. There could be also sometimes the casual callers, unsolicited applicants coming inside your organization, approaching your organization. Eventually those applicants could be a prospective source in future if you can maintain a proper record of those casual callers, right? And then you can go for press advertisement. You can also go for advertisement on television. You can make a web publishing. You can approach several placement agencies. You can go for campus recruitment drives, okay? Or else you can take the help of the labor contractors, primarily for unskilled or semi-skilled jobs. Those labor contractors they provide necessary human resources for the organization. There are various employment exchanges in different parts of the country. They have a policy. Those are created by the government through enactment, that whenever any such recruitment opportunities exist, they send information to those registered candidates. So employment exchanges also play an important role, and there could be recommendations of the employees of your organization, and that also becomes one of the prospective sources of recruitment and considered as external sources of recruitment. So you can see these are the external sources of recruitment: the direct recruitment, casual callers, press advertisement, advertising on television, web publishing, placement agencies, campus recruitment, labor contractors, employment exchanges, and recommendations by existing employees. These are the external sources of recruitment. Now we shall see the next as advantages of external sources. Through these external sources, the fresh talent is infused in the organization. You have a very wide choice. Your talent pool, number of applicants are more than that of the internal source, where your prospective source is very limited in number. So you have a wider choice. It also fosters competition. The best possible candidate, the best qualified candidate gets selected. So it thrives on competitive spirit. The next, it brings in qualified personnel. So these are few important advantages of external sources: infusing fresh talent, having wider choice, fostering competition, bringing in qualified candidates for the organization. However, there are certain disadvantages also. Disadvantages of external sources. The disadvantages could be, it could be a very costly affair. Rather, it is a very costly affair. Okay? It involves human resources, it requires time, okay? It requires money, so that the entire recruitment process is done. The stages are done, okay? And it is also time consuming. It can have the the prospective resources once recruited, they will have the limited understanding of the company, which is not so in the case of external recruitment. They know well about the organization and its activities, and there could be the maladjustments and disputes arising out in the organization with the existing employees, and that can eventually lead to industrial conflicts or sometimes industrial disputes. And it could be also a very risky proposition, because rather sometimes the person who holds a very good position, a certain level of hierarchy, may not invest optimum labor, optimum intellect in the organization. There could be a possible risk factor associated in recruiting the person from the outside source. So these are few disadvantages of external sources of recruitment. Therefore, it can be summed up as recruitment is a function which is very, very important from the viewpoint of procurement function. We have seen that after you have done the job analysis part and thereafter the human resource planning part, the next in the process comes the recruitment and then the selection. Recruitment is actually encouraging and stimulating the prospective candidates for applying for job in your organization. So your job description must be made in such a way so that it must be able to provide necessary stimulus, excitement, encouragement to the people, so that the person is motivated enough to apply for jobs in the organization, right? That is the basic objective. Once you have the vast pool of human resources that have applied for the job, so you have a wider choice. You can select your required person, required number of human resources from that vast pool of human resources for your organization. And then this recruitment process involves a number of stages or steps that we have seen, right from receiving requisitions till up to the reviewing the entire recruitment process that we have seen in quick succession. And we have also seen that a very important part of recruitment is actually locating and identifying the sources. We have seen that there are two possible sources of recruitment. One is the internal source and another is the external source. We have also seen the advantages and disadvantages of each of these sources. So next time when I come for the class, our class will be on the selection. Okay, recruitment is a very positive function since it stimulates and encourages a large number of people across different geographical locations to apply for jobs, and selection is a negative function since it involves elimination rounds or elimination process. I hope that you have been able to understand the recruitment and the process of recruitment in the class, and if you have any doubts, you can clarify your doubts here in the class. I am open to you all.